Meet Kang Jinma. He looks like your average nobody, but he hides a massive secret. He's actually a reincarnator. He's been dropped into his favorite game world, right as the prestigious Nobles Academy entrance exams are kicking off. Surrounded by Silver Spoon elites, Jinma is dead broke. But the moment he tries to register his weapon, the professor loses his mind. He's convinced this is some senior's twisted prank, but the kid doesn't flinch. These pathetic blades are all he has. His family is struggling, yet the professor suddenly notices something else. A distinct green badge on his chest. This kid didn't just apply. He cleared the brutal special admission test. The instructor is moved to tears by his sheer grind, though the wealthy snobs aren't impressed at all. Learning a charity case got in through special admission, they start complaining that the air is getting trashy. Despite the toxic atmosphere, Jinma stays cool. His past life was total chaos and he's done with drama. This time, he's aiming for peace. He's young, handsome, and despite awakening a top-tier rare ability, there's a bizarre catch. He can only wield blades under 30 centimeters. Talk about a massive nerf. When he first tested his power, the output was insane. Pure lightning surged violently through his blade. The shockwave rattled his entire skeleton. The agony of activation is unbearable. If it's always this painful, he's quitting. He hoped it was just a first-time thing, but a second attempt proved the torture was here to stay. Nearby, a massive crowd gathered for the ranking ceremony. Every rising star in the kingdom was in attendance. Presiding over the event was the legendary hero Siegfried von Nibelung, a direct disciple of the great Yu Kim. He's the Academy's iconic founder, a man worshipped by students, yet the board legend looks totally unimpressed. Not even another hero's arrival could fix his mood, a woman whose lethal curves are more famous than her title. Behold the sage of the seven heroes, Medea. She greets the old man with a playful, sharp tongue. Siegfried roasts her for being 70 years old while dressing like a teenager. Medea just brushes it off. In fact, she takes it as a win, offering him a blessing to make him look 10 years younger. The old man declines, preferring to age gracefully. Medea, however, maintains her youth through her own mystical essence. Ignoring the insults, she sticks around to watch the freshmen. She usually despises these events. But curiosity won out. She's here to see Siegfried's granddaughter. Meanwhile, the courtyard was a vibrant sea of students. Among the crowd of colorful dyed hair, Jinma stood out with his pitch-black locks, becoming an easy target for jokes. The mocking stopped instantly when a stunning girl appeared. Her blue hair and magnetic aura left every guy speechless. Meet Abel von Nibelung, the Sword Emperor's granddaughter and the literal main heroine of this game's world. The exam begins. Using ancient magic, the Academy created a subspace, a pocket dimension for high-stakes combat. Here, students can be brutally eliminated without dying in reality. It's the ultimate high-tech training ground. This means lethal force is totally on the table. For Siegfried and Medea, this violence is just tradition. Last one standing, get the top ranks. The legends are curious about the special admission kid, but the rest of the class only has eyes for the elite. Jinma could have joined the Simp Squad, chasing after Abel, but he knows the dark truth behind her character and her miraculous blessing. While the others follow their hormones, he takes the road less traveled, casually reading a guide on quiet living. In this reality, he realizes that survival means he'll eventually have to trigger that cursed, painful ability. The announcement for the subspace transfer sends everyone into a hype frenzy, except for a very unbothered Jinma. Once inside, he locks in. 7 minutes pass and students are already being ejected, visibly traumatized. Medea watches the carnage, noting that Abel has already claimed the #1 spot with ease. It was expected given her bloodline, but Medea was still eager to see just how far the girl could go. Siegfried wasn't impressed yet. He noted she hadn't even touched the Academy record he set decades ago. Just as the legend turned to leave, a crushing, suffocating pressure suddenly saturated the entire arena. It was a visceral stabbing sensation. Every student froze, staring at the sky with pure, unadulterated terror. Medea turned to Siegfried for answers, but even the legendary hero looked completely caught off guard. The fabric of the sky began to shatter like glass. From the rift, two mysterious figures plummeted downward, crashing into the dirt. A haunting, deathly silence gripped the entire arena. First responders scrambled toward the mangled trainees. Rewind the clock a few moments before the chaos erupted. This wasn't a standard mock battle. Two sadistic siblings were ruthlessly hunting down every single student on the field. With these monsters involved, the outcome was predetermined. This wasn't a sparring session, it was a literal slaughterhouse. Jioma recognized the culprits instantly, the infamous Mao twins, Mao Jun and Shun Mao, architects of this carnage. Born with a savage streak, the duo had spent 30 minutes tormenting the defenseless like predators playing with food. Their sadistic grins widened with every blow. They completely ignored Jioma, who looked far too weak to be noticed. Once the pile of broken bodies grew stagnant, the twins grew restless, scouring the area for fresh prey. Their eyes locked onto a lone, trembling girl in the corner. Their twisted smirks signaled pure, malicious intent. Jioma's blood boiled as Shun Mao approached the terrified girl, whispering something absolutely repulsive in her ear. Snapping at last, Gioma's roar echoed across the arena, successfully drawing the twins' murderous gaze toward him. His instinct had overridden his fear, and now the two predators who overlooked him were sizing him up. Spotting his special admission badge, they spat out insults, labeling him trash, before deciding to end his life. They just wanted him dead so they could return to the girl. Gioma stood paralyzed, weighing his desperate options. His painless buff had a mere 30-second duration, a drop in the bucket compared to what he actually needed. Backed into a corner, he realized his only hope lay hidden inside his bag of professional-grade sashimi knives. But the moment his fingers brushed steel, the sword god's curse would ignite, flooding him with excruciating agony. He dreamt of a peaceful existence, yet here he was, staring death in the face before day one. The twins erupted in mocking laughter as he unsheathed a kitchen knife, and Shun Mao lunged to strike. The brother blurred forward to eliminate him. Beggars can't be choosers, and Gioma was forced into a suicidal gambit. He'd use his 30-second immunity to neutralize the sword god's backlash. He just had to survive the countdown. He triggered the immunity just as he gripped the handle, and the divine blessing erupted with blinding intensity. As Shun Mao closed in with a demonic grin, Gioma realized there was only one path to survival. If he didn't carve his way out now, he'd be dead. But could a fish slicer truly cleave human bone? He recalled questioning his mentor, a former mobster, about why cinema thugs always wielded these specific blades. His master had dismissed it as fiction, claiming it was impossible to fillet a human like a tuna. Not even with divine help, he'd said. Yet the system was literal. If he willed it, he could sever. Choosing faith over logic, Gioma lunged at the hulking brute, thrusting his blade forward with everything he had. In a flash, Shun Mao was bisected perfectly. Silence fell as Mao Jun and the trainees froze in horror. This wallflower had just pulled off the impossible using a kitchen tool. Shun Mao's remains hit the floor. Mao Jun howled, desperately clinging to the fact that this subspace meant his brother wasn't permanently dead. Virtual or not, the visual was scarring. Mao Jun tried to rationalize it as a fluke born from carelessness. As the sole survivor, the burden of vengeance fell on him. He grabbed the gauntlet from his brother's corpse. Dual-wielding the artifacts triggered their hidden potential, skyrocketing Mao Jun's defensive stats and raw destructive power. His strikes now packed the force of a wrecking ball. He felt invincible against even the highest-tier weaponry. But Gioma didn't give a damn. He was hyper-focused on the internal clock, ticking down his remaining immunity. With the timer bleeding out, Mao Jun spotted a gap and charged for a sucker punch, while Gioma distracted. The confrontation ended in a heartbeat. Mao Jun collapsed into a pool of his own blood, barely alive. As the final second vanished, Gioma's shield shattered, and a tidal wave of pure agony crashed into him. A blood-curdling scream escaped him before he blacked out. When he came to, he was in a sterile room. He recognized the figures immediately, two of the seven-star heroes, the absolute pinnacle of human evolution. Siegfried and director Medea Poison stood before him. Why were these titans personally overseeing a mere student? While Medea remained calm, Siegfried bypassed the pleasantries, his hand twitching nervously on the hilt of his blade. He demanded an explanation for the reality-warping energy they'd detected radiating from Gioma during the duel. There was no doubt he was the source. The tension in the room was suffocatingly heavy. Choosing humility, Gioma bowed and offered his apologies, prompting Medea to intervene before things got violent. Medea chides Siegfried to stop intimidating. The boy then drops a bombshell about what happened during Gioma's blackout. It turns out Siegfried actually purged Gioma's blocked meridians. Gioma's stunned. Why would a legendary master do such a favor? Taking a breath, he realizes his body feels incredibly light. Medea adds that they've meticulously analyzed the exam footage. They concluded he was just a hero protecting a girl in trouble. Medea starts swooning, calling Gioma her literal dreamy prince, forcing a tired Siegfried to drag her back. Shaking off the fangirl vibes, she gets serious. She won't penalize him for the chaos. Besides, those twins were total menaces with trash reputations anyway. Following their crushing defeat, the duo dropped out entirely. Finally, a massive weight lifts off Gioma's shoulders. But here's the kicker. They're actually here to crown him the #1 ranker in the entire academy. He topped everyone. Just like that, Gioma's dream of a low-key, drama-free life officially goes up in flames. Later, the heavy hitters reconvene in Medea's office. She's venting about a situation she's never seen in 20 years. As the academy head, she's baffled. A freshman clinches the throne against every other candidate, only to reject the elite star class. They begged him to reconsider, but the boy didn't budge. Medea teases Siegfried, asking if he's salty that this random kid outranked his own granddaughter. After witnessing Gioma's raw potential, Siegfried isn't buying it. He views the boy as just a rebellious kid, pitting himself against the system. Yet the subspace carrying the founder's will recognized Gioma as the absolute peak. The academy has anointed him, and there's no undoing that. Still, Siegfried is wrestling with his own suspicions. Gioma is a complete anomaly. If he had god-tier talent or insane physical specs, it would make sense. Even a shred of combat experience would explain it. But Siegfried's sharp eyes saw absolutely zero training. Yet the footage doesn't lie. Gioma's movements held a master's essence. It was the ultimate form of swordsmanship, the pinnacle Siegfried has chased for decades. While clearing his meridians, he felt how fragile the boy truly was. Zero conditioning. However, deep within that weak frame, something terrifying and incomprehensible lay dormant. Something even the strongest warrior couldn't grasp. Now the old master feels a spark of rivalry toward a teenager. Medea, however, is busy thirsting over how attractive he is. She's obsessed with his heroic rescue routine. Saving a damsel in distress, total heartbreaker. She jokes that if she were 10 years younger, she'd shoot her shot. Siegfried remains locked in silence until Medea prods him. He ignores her question, only to ask what the students actually call a woman like her. Intrigued, the administrator tells him to go on. His blunt answer triggers an absolute meltdown. Meanwhile, Gioma heads out to survive his first official day of class. After snubbing the star class, he was dumped into wolf class. Any lower and the academy elders would have rioted. He aimed for the lowly tiger class, but Medea negotiated him into wolf class. The trade-off, total anonymity. No one can know he's the school's top dog. He just wanted a low-profile life in the bottom-tier ranks. Avoiding the spotlight of the elites was the goal. Wolf class is a bit flashy, but it's manageable. It fits his minimum effort strategy. Gioma pushes open the heavy doors, stepping into his new reality. The class scans him with brief interest. But once they spot his special admission tag, they immediately lose interest. Perfect. Their indifference proves Medea is actually keeping her word. Now he can finally chase that tranquil life he craves. He finds a seat and tries to blend in, until a familiar face approaches, trembling with nerves. She stammers out a thank you, leaving Gioma completely clueless. She's the girl from the exam. Gioma just shrugs it off, telling her she doesn't need to thank him. He claims anyone would have stepped in. Classic NPC energy, to dodge the spotlight. In his head, he only acted to save his own skin. Taking credit for being a hero feels like total cap. He'd feel like a fraud. To kill the awkwardness, he drops his name, and she quickly reciprocates. Her name is Chloe. Talk about a wild coincidence, they're stuck in the same class. With the basics out of the way, Gioma racks his brain. Who exactly is this Chloe? He doesn't recall her from the game's lore. Did he miss a DLC? No, that's impossible. By the time he quit, the story was locked in. It looks like he's just bumped into another background extra. He leans in, making her swear to stay silent about the exam. His secret OP status needs to stay buried. Chloe agrees to play along, but she's got a little condition that might just wreck his peaceful life. Before things get deep, their teacher kicks the door down with a roar, killing the vibe instantly. Welcoming the new wolf class, the instructor Lee Won-bin flashes a grin as he kicks off the term. Since it's day one, he starts the torture with a classic regimen: 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups. Add in 100 squats and 10 laps around the field. Basically, he's turning them into Saitama. For the high-born geniuses, this training is a breeze. For Gioma, it's a straight-up death sentence. Terrified his hair might actually fall out from the stress, he nervously creeps up to the instructor. Once the coast is clear, he whispers that his body is definitely not built for this level of torture. Surprise, the teacher knows exactly who he is. Looks like Medea didn't keep her hype for him a secret. Won-bin is well aware that Gioma has a VIP pass to join any level he chooses. Instead of leveling up to the star class, Gioma just begs for a quick bathroom break. Mission failed. He's dragged right back into the soul-crushing grind with the rest of his peers. His classmates zoom past like Ferraris while he's stuck in the back, gasping for air. His vision is blurring, but then Chloe slides up next to him, noticing he looks like a total ghost. She flexes that she's already on lap 9, dropping a quick word of encouragement before taking off. She leaves him in the dust, and by sunset, Gioma is back in his room, chugging water like a madman. 7 days in, and this academy life is already turning into a complete high-intensity nightmare. He hit the cafeteria for some fuel, only to realize the food definitely isn't on the house. The price tag sends him into a spiral of rage, and he hurls his water bottle against the wall. He's broke. He's kicking himself for turning down his dad's cash. Now he's literally starving on a budget of zero. Chugging cheap shop water is his new hobby, making him actually miss those nasty army dinners. To distract his stomach from screaming, he pulls up his unique blessing to check his stats. The holographic screen flickers to life, looking way more detailed than the last time he checked. His stats are climbing, the sword god's blessing upgraded, meaning he can finally handle slightly longer blades. A quick flex in the mirror confirms that his body is finally starting to look like a true warrior's. Thanks to the swordmaster hitting those pressure points, it feels like his entire biology just got a massive upgrade. Still, the blessing is stuck at sashimi knife length. He needs a lot more grind to reach sword status. His hands literally start twitching when he's not holding a weapon. The blessing is getting under his skin. Knock knock. He opens the door to find Chloe standing there looking curious. She was worried since he ghosted the cafeteria, but Gioma pulls a "I don't eat peasant food" act. He acts all high and mighty while his stomach is throwing a full-blown riot for some actual food. Chloe's face falls. She really wanted a dinner date. but Gioma isn't about to let this chance slip. In a flash, he's suited up and dragging her along to hunt for some fresh ingredients. The feast he whips up is absolute fire. Chloe can't believe he's actually a god-tier chef in the kitchen. She's a seafood fan, and he's a fish-slicing pro. It's a match made in culinary heaven. That itch in his hands is back, so he decides to flex his skills by carving up some sashimi. There's just one hitch the sword god's blessing triggers, even if he's just holding a basic kitchen knife. He asks her for a bigger blade, pretending he doesn't want to get his combat gear dirty. She returns with a massive hunk of steel, way too big for a fish, but he's got to make it work. He's got exactly 30 seconds of the painless blessing left. Speed is his only option now. Back home, he was a legend with a blade. Now it's time to show this fish his true mastery. With god-tier precision, he finishes the job in 21 seconds flat, leaving 9 seconds of painless bliss. The result is a total work of art. Chloe's jaw drops. How can one man be this good at cooking? He admits he used to pull shifts at a sushi joint, but as a noble, she has zero clue what a job is. As the plates go empty, the massive gap between their social worlds becomes painfully obvious again. Chloe offers to handle the dishes since he prepped the entire feast, prompting him to retreat to the far side of the kitchen. Giving her space to clean for the first time in a week, he leans back with a satisfied sigh, humming a cheerful tune. That peaceful melody shatters instantly as a plate crashes behind him. It is pretty obvious that she has zero experience with chores, reminding him of his own clumsy mistakes at her age. Gazing out the window, he chooses to ignore the mounting wreckage. Suddenly, a book slides off Chloe's desk. It's clearly her private diary. The journal falls open perfectly to a page detailing the moment he saved her during the high-stakes placement exam. Her writing is surprisingly cute, adorned with bubbly letters and stickers. He can't resist picking it up and letting a small smile escape. A sudden gust of wind flips the pages, landing on her entry about their classroom reunion. He finds the whole thing incredibly precious, turning more pages as he's captivated by her hidden, adorable side. But as he flips further, his heart stops. His name is everywhere, surrounded by "I love you" written hundreds of times. Another plate shatters. He turns to find Chloe staring him down with cold, hollow eyes. "Did you read it?" she whispers. This chilling, emotionless state isn't new. It's a product of her dark upbringing, a psychological fortress of self-defense. In this world, heroes gain glory by slaying demonic beasts, rising through the ranks to achieve global fame. But beneath that shining surface, corrupt factions exploit the weak to maintain their iron-fisted authority. When the law fails to punish these monsters, a shadow organization is summoned to clean up the trash. That family is the Auditory Cecilia, the legendary bloodline of cleaners who maintain world order through assassination. They are the ghosts who walk in darkness to preserve the light. Every child born into the Auditory name is forged into a weapon before they can even walk. Their emotions are stripped away through brutal, inhuman conditioning. They undergo hellish training to become the ultimate killing machines. Chloe is a direct descendant of this blood-soaked legacy. She first stained her hands with blood at 15, warned never to underestimate the lethality of her own gifts. This ruthless awareness defined her existence. Slowly, the relentless training warped her soul, casting a permanent shadow. By the time her identity was fully eroded, only the faintest echoes of human emotion remained buried deep inside. Eventually, it was time for her to enter the academy, an elite institution where students are sorted by raw talent. While most peers possess the power of dragons, members of the Auditory family operate under a different set of rules. To stay hidden, the family decreed that their shadow-dwelling heirs must blend into the bottom-tier common class. It was a secret pact between the family and the school. She was ordered to remain a complete ghost during her youth. The family crushed every ounce of her freedom. Chloe accepted her fate as a living weapon, convinced that her path was set in stone. That is, until the day she encountered a boy who changed everything. She stood defenseless as two thugs closed in, but then the guy who looked the weakest of all stepped forward. He stood his ground to protect her. Even though death in this subspace battle royale was just a simulation, this boy was genuinely willing to risk it all for her. Chloe had already made peace with her inevitable end. She had abandoned all struggle, trained to be a silent, invisible observer. But then everything shifted. His intervention was like a sunburst through a leaden sky. She watched him wield his blade, not for murder, but for protection. In that moment, seeing him fight so fiercely for her sake, a forbidden memory resurfaced, a fairy tale she used to whisper to herself under her covers as a child. It was the story of a princess trapped in a tower saved by a noble prince. As the parallels hit her, her heart fluttered and her cheeks burned crimson. This strange new sensation was undeniable. It was love. Back in the present, Gioma realizes he's committed the ultimate sin. As she glares, he tries to find his voice. But the realization hits him he is absolutely cooked. He frantically retraces his steps to figure out where it went wrong. Was it when he snooped through her deepest secrets, or maybe when he followed her home just for a free meal? Regardless, he's now staring into the eyes of a teenage reaper. He's looking at death in a school uniform. Step 1. Survival. He desperately tries to pivot, mentioning how beautiful the moon is while eyeing the exit. He's looking for any way to leave with his head still attached, but Chloe cuts his escape short. She demands an answer once more. Did he see her diary? He plays dumb, claiming he only saw her study notes, throwing out desperate compliments about her work ethic. But right now, no amount of Riz is going to save his life. He's spiraling, shocked she caught him snooping since she seemed totally focused on the dishes. The vibe shifted instantly. As he peeked, she dropped the formalities, and her voice went cold. It's like a total stranger is standing there. He stammers a denial, desperate to de-escalate. She corners him until he cracks and confesses. Big mistake. Now Chloe's decided he has to die. That same blade she used for the fish, it's now leveled right at his throat. Gioma scans for an exit, but they're 4 floors up. Jumping is just a faster way to die. The front door is the only path, but Chloe's guarding it like a final boss. He won't make it out in one piece. She's closing in, and his life is ticking away. He searches for a reason for this madness, and sees at those haunting hollow pupils, crimson eyes glowing with malice. It's official, he's trapped with a textbook yandere. From sweet strawberry to cold-blooded executioner in seconds, this situation just hit rock bottom. A yandere with a split personality. Survival just became a high-difficulty raid. Managing one persona was hard enough, but a triggered transformation makes this a death trap. Opening that diary was the catalyst. He knows she'll hunt him to the ends of the earth. If he doesn't break her out of this trance now, he won't have a future to worry about. Things are getting lethal. To survive this encounter, he needs a weapon and fast. Only 9 seconds left. His specialized sashimi knife is miles away in his own room. The kitchen knife is an option, but reaching for it means losing his arms to her blade. His eyes dart to her desk, a tiny box cutter. It's the only thing within reach. Can this toy even trigger a sword god's blessing? Chloe lunges sword, whistling through the air. No time to think. He lunges for the box cutter and snaps the blade into position. Systems flash. Being a resourceful survivor spikes his mental stats and resilience. An intimidation buff procs. The system recalibrates, forcing the blessing to activate. Chloe strikes with lethal intent, just as Gioma counters with the tiny plastic tool. Your hair's a bit long, he mutters. The buff hits hard, and Chloe freezes mid-swing. Blade flashes, then darkness. By sunset, Chloe wakes up in a room drenched in shadows. Everything is spotless. Empty. Her mind races to Gioma. Where did her favorite person go? Only silence answers. Her last memory was him staring peacefully out the window. Everything else is a blur. She reaches for her katana, finding it resting against the desk. These blackouts happen when she holds her blade, but she hopes she kept it together. At least that's her theory. Since her training days, the blade always claimed her consciousness. Back then, she'd wake up covered in blood, while her elders just looked away. Don't deny your talent, they'd say. To them, she was born to be an assassin. She cringes, embarrassed that she might have scared Gioma, and hides under her blankets. But shame turns to obsession as she spots the box cutter discarded on the floor. Her hair is shorter, and there in the trash are the neatly trimmed locks. He gave her a haircut, her heart swells, and she frantically reaches for her journal. Time to log more of her undying love. Meanwhile, Gioma is having a total meltdown. He can't believe he's still breathing, ducking behind a hidden wall on campus. He loses his lunch, the very meal he'd been praising her for just moments ago. The 5 seconds after his blessing expired were pure agony. He feels absolutely wretched. Starving and sick, Gioma collapses on a bench. Why is his life this complicated? His thoughts drift back to Chloe. Who or what is she really? That wasn't just luck. Her swordsmanship is designed for one thing: perfect, lethal execution. Every movement she made was aimed at his vitals. It was almost like her lethality is unmatched, a true shadow born for assassination. Had Gioma dropped his guard for even a split second, he'd be a corpse by now. Sensing the cold breath of death, his instincts screamed, forcing him to counter with a strike toward her throat. Luckily for her, his blade fell short. He only managed to claim a few strands of her hair. After a quick clinical cleanup of the crime scene, he vanished into the night, leaving no trace behind. This close call was a brutal wake-up call. Maintaining a peaceful, low-key existence in this chaotic world was going to be a total nightmare. Turns out being a nobody is the hardest mission of all. When he first dropped into this game, he wasn't exactly lacking in burning ambition. In his previous life, he had climbed to the absolute peak of lethality, using nothing but a simple sashimi knife. Giving up those dreams wasn't easy, but destiny had other plans. In this twisted reality, he wasn't the star. He was summoned to play the role of a nameless background character, Miracle Blessing. That's the name of the game and the legendary power gifted to the protagonist. It was the same divine grace held by the founding hero, Valor Jakin. In the entire history of this digital world, only the hero and the founder were ever worthy to wield that mythical power. Its purpose was simple yet heavy. They were the chosen ones destined to purge the world of the Demon King. The protagonist is even destined to wield Balmung, a double S-rank holy cursed blade. It's the ultimate main character cheat code. Meanwhile, Gioma is stuck with a rankless kitchen knife. It's a joke. He's basically hard-coded to live and die in total obscurity. Since joining the academy, the constant chaos and flashy elites have almost made him lose sight of his one true goal: survival. There are a million reasons to just quit and give up on a quiet life. The pressure is mounting, and the signs are everywhere. It feels like sanity is extinct in this world. Having played this game before, he knows the heavy hitters, but the world itself is still a mystery. He's got a decent handle on the VIPs, but he's still navigating the dark. He's already been at the academy for one full week. If the timeline holds true, the main protagonist should have already unlocked his broken blessing by now. The late admission arc is about to kick off, marking the true start of the story. Gioma knows exactly how the plot is supposed to go, except he never actually beat the game. He's kicking himself for quitting halfway through, but he still remembers the major canon events. Knowing the first half of the script gives him a massive edge. His only mission: don't break the canon, no matter what. If he starts playing hero and changing events, his future knowledge becomes useless. He can't afford to lose his only survival kit. He knows things get dark fast during the second semester of junior year. That's when the demons finally realize the hero is back. The demons will launch a full-scale invasion on the academy, led by a terrifying Legion commander. It's going to be a total bloodbath. That skirmish will ignite an all-out war between humanity and the abyss. From that point on, it's a non-stop survival horror. It shifts into a generic high-stakes fantasy war. Back then, he just wanted to chill and enjoy the teenage life he never had. He deleted the game because he wanted peace, not a war simulator. But now that peace is a luxury he can't afford. The nightmare is real now. He's trapped in a world destined for total annihilation, and his own death is a very real possibility. He's got 3 years until the end times. He needs to stop daydreaming and start grinding if he wants to see the next morning. Dying isn't an option. He's going to level up his strength until he's unkillable. Besides, these stories always have a happy ending, right? The hero usually saves the day, so Gioma just needs to be strong enough to not get stepped on in the process. He refuses to be the extra who dies in the first chapter. He just needs enough power to guard his own life while staying under the radar. To stay invisible, he has to seal away the blessing of the sword god. It's his trump card, but it's incredibly dangerous to use. Relying on it even briefly shreds his muscles and leaves his body in ruins. It's pure power, but the cost is way too high. Just thinking about it forces a blue status window to flicker into existence, displaying his stats. But something is different. New data entries are popping up that definitely weren't there before. 3 new categories have emerged: body, mind, and armament, and they all have level numbers ticking upward. These levels track his true growth. As they rise, the crushing backlash of his blessing should finally become manageable. Then there's synchronization. It's a total mystery, and he has 0 clues as to what it actually does. When he tries to check it, the system just flashes "access denied." He hasn't met the secret requirements yet. It's just another enigma to add to his list, but he can't worry about that now. He has bigger problems to solve. Step 1, build a better body. Step 2, find a weapon that won't break the first time he swings it. He can't lean on his 30 seconds of invincibility forever. He needs to master actual swordsmanship that doesn't trigger his blessing. Fortunately, the midterm monster hunt is coming up in just 1 month. It's his chance to finally gear up. The top prize is Murasame, a B-tier longsword. It's the perfect mid-game weapon to carry him through to graduation. Plus, it's too massive to trigger his blessing automatically. It's the perfect tool for a man trying to stay ordinary in a world gone mad. Things are messy, but he's finally gaining some traction. Amidst his deep thoughts, a sudden voice breaks the silence. He snaps his head up, locking eyes with the last person he ever expected to encounter. It's Abel von Nibelung, granddaughter of the legendary Sword Emperor and the ultimate do-not-touch character. To keep the plot from spiraling, he must keep his distance. Coldly, she claims he's occupying her seat. Paralyzed by her presence, he freezes until her sharp shout finally jolts him into motion. He scurries aside, his heart racing. Up close, Abel's beauty is so blinding he can't stop staring. Just as he moves to flee, she stops him. He doesn't have to leave. A little space is enough. Claiming a public bench as hers is wild, but he stays quiet to avoid any unnecessary drama. He's captivated. As expected of the game's main heroine, her visual tier is absolutely god level. She begins to speak, snapping Gioma back to reality. This is wrong, this isn't how she acts. The Abel he knows is an ice queen, who ignores everyone, even the perfect main protagonist. She presses on, asking if he's a swordsman. Flustered, he wonders how she could possibly tell. She explains that swordsmen possess a unique gaze, a secret from her grandfather, before unsheathing her blade. She offers him the hilt. Feeling the danger of the situation, he quickly declines the gesture. Her face falls into a pout. He's clearly bruised her ego, but her sudden friendliness is terrifying. Then comes the curveball. Do you know who I am? Gioma blinks, stunned by the question. Literally, everyone in this academy knows her. He plays it cool, giving a vague, non-committal answer. She sighs, calling it unfair. Everyone knows her name, yet he's just a total mystery to her. Gioma shrugs it off. They're just strangers passing by. Names are the least of their concerns. She counters with a wild theory. What if he's a Demon King spy, infiltrating the school? A loner out this late is definitely sus. Gioma smirks, flipping the interrogation back on her. Why are you out so late, he asks, though her gear clearly screams late-night grind. She mentions breathing techniques, but as she gestures, she accidentally reveals the brutal scars on her hands. She hides them instantly, but it's too late. Those scars are the heavy price of her obsession with strength. For a Nibelung, hard work isn't a choice, it's survival. The world doesn't understand the pressure of her bloodline. They must be flawless icons. One moment of weakness, and the vultures will start circling. Then the bombshell drops, she isn't number one. She actually tasted defeat for the first time. Surprisingly, she feels a strange sense of relief, yet she's dying to know who surpassed her. She vows to find them and crush them. Gioma nearly chokes on his own breath at her words. Why so much hate, he asks. For her, it's pure humiliation. She even begged her grandfather for answers, but the top scorer isn't in her class. Worse, they skipped the opening ceremony like a total boss. Being forced to give the speech as the runner-up was the ultimate slap in the face. She cuts herself off, realizing she's oversharing. Why is she venting to a complete stranger? Gioma seizes the moment to ask the burning question. Why talk to me at all? Given her icy reputation, this interaction makes zero sense. Her answer, however, is a total vibe check. Because you look weak, she says. Her family code is simple: defy the strong, protect the weak. Her classmates are all arrogant jerks, leaving her completely friendless in this massive academy. That explains her coldness toward the strong hero. With a yawn, Abel stands and stretches. She turns to depart, but pauses, throwing one last look over her shoulder. Still not giving me a name? She asks. Gioma holds firm, no names, no attachments, no exceptions. Days turn into weeks. To his shock, life at the academy remains suspiciously peaceful. Chloe is thriving, making her own circle of friends and fitting right into the campus life. Gioma stays in the shadows, avoiding her while grinding his stats and honing his physical limits. Every sunset brings the game's chaos closer, but for now, he enjoys the quiet before the storm. He continues his secret evolution, praying his hidden power will be enough when destiny finally calls. Ever since that room incident, his classmates' gazes have turned sharp and full of icy disdain. Being a special entrant is a heavy label, but Gioma has learned to shrug off their elitist snobbery. He isn't the only outsider here, even if their numbers in this class are painfully thin. They avoid each other like the plague, likely driven by a deep-seated inferiority complex. Honestly, he's lucky. Being in the high-tier star or dragon classes would be a political nightmare. Those top ranks are probably already drowning in toxic power struggles and petty faction wars. Witnessing it in-game was shocking enough, but living through it, that thought is truly terrifying. On the bright side, his stomach is finally full, thanks to some decent proper meals. It's all thanks to Medea's special privilege reward for his record-breaking top score. This faculty card is a golden ticket granting him unlimited free feasts at the cafeteria. He's so grateful he'd bow toward the director's office daily, if it didn't look so suspicious. Beyond that, he's playing the role of a model student to absolute perfection. His ultimate mission, lay low, and ensure the main storyline doesn't deviate by even an inch. If he can survive 3 years without making waves, a peaceful life is finally within reach. Time flows smoothly until a lecture about the legendary hero Balor Joaquin catches his attention. Joaquin founded this very academy to forge the next generation of protectors for humanity. Gioma knows the lore by heart. The hero once faced Lycan, the Demon King's deadliest commander. That brutal clash lasted 20 grueling years before the hero finally claimed a bloody victory. But glory came at a heavy price. The hero lost his arm and his ability to fight. The war was a literal bloodbath, ending in a hollow triumph where no side truly won. Thus, the first human-demon war concluded with a fragile, uneasy truce between the races. To safeguard the future, Joaquin established the academy under a strict non-aggression pact. That single piece of paper has bought the world 7 centuries of borrowed peace. These students believe war is a myth, something they'll never see in their pampered lifetimes. But Gioma knows the truth, the clock is ticking, and this calm is about to shatter. He desperately wants to warn Medea about the coming apocalypse, but the risks are too high. Changing the canon route is a gamble that could lead to an even more disastrous future. Despite her constant griping about her job, Medea's perception blessing makes her incredibly sharp. She'll be the first to sense the shift and the first to charge onto the front lines. Gioma never finished the game, but he's seen the spoilers on the fandom wiki. Her fate is tragic. Medea is destined to be the first star to fall in battle. Knowing her death is coming makes keeping this secret feel like a heavy, suffocating burden. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupts in the hallway, drawing every student's curious attention. May 5th, the date Gioma's been waiting for. It's time for the real story to begin. The protagonist is finally arriving at the school, and the atmosphere is electric with anticipation. Students crowd the doorway, whispering in absolute awe as a certain someone walks in. Everyone's already betting he'll be assigned to the elite star class, and they aren't wrong. Leon van Reinhardt strides through the halls, radiating the undeniable aura of a chosen one. As the crowd fawns, Gioma watches silently, knowing this marks the beginning of the end. The main character syndrome is real. Every girl in sight is practically swooning over him. In an adult-rated version of this world, Leon's stamina would have failed him long ago. His future party members are just as elite, forming a squad of legendary beauty and power. It's annoying to admit, but Leon is the centerpiece of the Miracle Blessing universe. In 3 years, they'll all be drafted for the war that's lurking just over the horizon. For Gioma, that means a mandatory enlistment and a terrifying second chance at military life. Even the legendary hero struggled just to seal the First Legion commander, leaving Gioma to spiral in deep thought. If a mere commander is that broken, how monstrous is the Demon King? Surely the protagonist won't fail. Right. Suddenly, his gaze meets Leon's, and the protagonist flashes a dazzling, confident smirk as if to ease Gioma's racing heart. He has no clue what's going on in Gioma's head, but hey, he's the main character, failing isn't in his vocabulary. Threats like these are light work for him. Gioma turns to leave, but a soft voice suddenly pulls him back. It's Chloe, looking bashful as she asks if she offended him. He bites back the urge to say she nearly decapitated him. Since they're stuck together for a whole year, sparking a feud now would make their daily lives a total nightmare. He forces a smile, lying that everything is fine to keep the peace and avoid making a lethal enemy. Relief washes over Chloe as she reverts to her cute girl persona, exactly like the version he first met. It's a terrifying contrast to the cold-blooded monster he faced earlier, even if she was unconscious back then. Her sword style felt drenched in pure agony, like a blade crying out for someone to save its soul. Yet the murderous aura, bleeding from her edge, was so suffocating, it made his skin crawl with primal fear. If her steel exists only to reap lives, she's likely a bigger threat than the Mao siblings combined. He snapped back to reality when she asks to cook him dinner tonight, though she admits she's no master chef. The thought of dining with her triggers flashbacks of her bloodlust, and every instinct screams at him to decline. But a girl's puppy dog eyes are a high-tier debuff. It's an absolute weapon that's impossible to parry. Looking at that innocent face, he feels like a villain for even thinking no. But if he doesn't refuse, he might end up as a frozen snack in a fridge by dawn. Fortunately, he has a much safer alternative. He tells her she's the only one who can help him with a special favor, making her instantly obedient and focused. Gioma requests her to be his personal sword instructor. Fast forward to the Academy's training grounds. He tests his limits with a wooden practice sword, relieved to find its size doesn't nerf his divine blessing. Phase 1 is complete. Now he just needs to sharpen his actual skills. And Chloe, she's a combat genius. There's no better mentor than her, plus it's the perfect excuse to dodge those suspicious dinner invites. Since that encounter, he's been binge-watching How to Survive a Yandere every night before hitting the hay. Surprisingly, the survival tips seem to be working in his favor while dealing with her unpredictable moods. Chloe arrives in casual gear, katana strapped to her hip. They set the meeting for 8, and he's right on time. Little did he know she's been waiting since 6. Gioma catches his breath. Her crop top reveals some serious muscle. The school uniform hid it well, but her toned physique proves exactly why her strikes are so devastating. He hands her a wooden blade, but she looks confused. She expected them to draw real, cold steel. There's no way he's training with live ammo. This isn't a death match, and he values his life way too much. He insists on safety, so Chloe shrugs and gives the wooden sword a casual test swing in the air. A simple thrust from her creates a literal shockwave that rips through the atmosphere between them. The sheer pressure makes the air tremble, and Gioma instantly starts regretting his life choices about this training. Caution is his only friend right now. He needs to play it very safe before things escalate into a tragedy. He checks his blessing one last time. Thankfully, the sword length is perfect, and his stats are climbing steadily. Still, it's bizarre for a blessing to evolve through experience. He doesn't recall any records of such side effects. He's also flying blind on when his hidden trait will finally awaken. How much more must he grow? Chloe leans in, asking what's wrong, reminding him that the status screen is for his eyes only. To her, he probably looks like a total weirdo zoning out into thin air. He shakes it off to begin. He nervously begs her to go easy since it's day 1, then takes a solid stance against the monster girl. In his previous life experience was his only teacher. He knows that to truly master the way of the sword, you can't just give half an effort. You must be willing to sacrifice your entire soul to the blade. His rapid adaptation in the academy isn't luck, it's the result of brutal, lifelong conditioning. He can feel the subtle shift when he's improving versus when he's stuck, and right now his form is off. His grip is tense, and his stance is shaky, yet, despite the flaws, his final strike carries a lethal weight. One strike, that's all it takes. Gioma snaps his eyes open as the duel ignites, finding Chloe already charging like a thunderbolt. Moving at terminal velocity, she lunges Gioma, narrowly evades her initial thrust. Just as Chloe shifts her combat stance mid-air, she unleashes a follow-up strike that he barely deflects by a hair's breadth. As their steel or wood clashes, the intensity skyrockets. Her speed is hitting new heights with every second. Gioma struggles to track her blurring movements, and even worse, a terrifying thought strikes him. Is she still holding back? He did ask her to go easy after all. Their blades collide again with a bone-jarring impact. The wooden practice weapon groans spiderwebbing with cracks under her overwhelming force. Yet her relentless storm of blows shows zero signs of slowing. She hammers him with a barrage of strikes, leaving him barely able to parry or dodge. The sheer power behind her swings is insane. One clean hit from her and it's game over. He'll be dead on the spot. Gioma desperately searches for an opening but finds absolutely nothing. Before he can devise a counter-strategy, his weapon finally reaches its limit and snaps in two with a sickening crack. Seeing the broken wood, Chloe immediately tries to apologize, claiming she was being as gentle as humanly possible. Yet the damage is done. However, a broken sword is the least of her problems because the blade has just decreased in size. This triggers a catastrophic chain reaction. The shortened blade now meets the exact hidden criteria to activate the sword god's blessing. But something is horribly wrong. Because the weapon is damaged, a fatal system error glitches the entire awakening process. The mental inhibitors that usually keep the blessing's power in check fail, violently warping Gioma's very personality and soul. By the time the dark transformation completes, his humanity has bottomed out. Gioma is gone, replaced by a hollow killing machine. The divine blessing of the sword god reaches 100% output as Gioma turns toward her wielding a jagged wooden shard. A suffocating, murderous aura erupts from his body. Chloe instinctively recoils as Gioma's entire presence shifts into something monstrous and cold. While his physical body moves on a lethal autopilot, his consciousness is ripped away, plunging back into the memories of his past life. He's suddenly back in his old kitchen. The world feels like a hazy dream, and his only instinct now is to start his shift. A fish appears on the prep table and he begins to work. Memories of the duel fade as his professional instincts take total control. It has been ages since he handled a catch this size. He's locked in, focusing entirely on the task at hand. To get the job done right, he reaches for a heavy Chinese cleaver. But as his hand nears the handle, fate intervenes. A system window flashes, permission denied. Frustrated, he pivots to a standard chef's knife, but once again the screen denies him. The same error message blocks every attempt. He scans the workstation until only one lethal blade remains on the counter. It's the sashimi knife. The system glows. This is the only weapon the world will allow him to wield right now. A flicker of pain crosses his mind. He knows holding this specific blade brings suffering, yet his hand closes around the grip. To his shock, there's no pain, only a refreshing surge of power. A haunting voice echoes in his mind, just accept the darkness. Let go. In the physical world, Gioma stalks toward Chloe like a predator. She screams his name, but he is long gone. He emanates a chilling bloodlust that freezes the air. Then in a flash of pure violence, he lunges at her with lethal intent. Chloe barely manages to brace her sword against his strike. The impact is staggering, throwing her backward like a rag doll into the wall. She slams into the stone, gasping for air. This isn't the Gioma she knows. This is a completely different, terrifying entity. He leaps through the air, aiming the jagged stake directly at her heart. She twists away the tip, missing her by mere millimeters. Even though she only blocked one hit, her body is paralyzed with shock. She can't comprehend how Gioma gained this godlike strength. Everything has spiraled out of control. If she doesn't stop this spar immediately, her friend is going to accidentally murder her. She begs him to snap out of it, but Gioma's ears are deaf to her pleas. He launches another high-speed assault, blurring across the room. He's moving too fast to track. Trapped and terrified, all she can do is close her eyes and scream for him to stop. She shrieks his name one last time, just as the jagged wood whistles through the air, aimed straight for her skull. Deep within the dream, Gioma grows annoyed. Why is the fish he's trying to prepare suddenly thrashing and avoiding his blade? The fish is making a frantic, muffled noise as it bounces. He strains his ears, trying to decipher the strange, wet sounds. It sounds like a name. The static in his mind begins to clear, and the fish's voice becomes crystal clear and desperate. It's screaming Gioma. Chef Kim's foggy memories shatter as he finally remembers his true identity. He is Gioma, not a chef. The realization hits him like a freight train. He snaps back to reality just as his lethal strike is inches from Chloe's throat. At the final millisecond, he diverts his momentum, hurling the broken wood away so hard it embeds itself deep into the wall. Crisis averted. Chloe opens her tear-filled eyes to find Gioma holding her gently, a soft, familiar smile returning to his face. With the weapon gone, the blessing dissipates instantly. He's back. After a brief, awkward goodbye, he leaves Chloe standing there, wondering if he's a genius or a monster. During their clash, she realized he wasn't relying on refined technique. He was a beast driven by pure, raw instinct. Even as his divine blessing surged subconsciously, she couldn't bridge the gap, not even against his broken, splintered wooden sword. He didn't just win, he completely dominated her. Later, as she crosses the campus, a shadowy figure watches her from the darkness. A voice mocks Chloe's suspiciously happy mood. The mystery man is Knox, her elitist older brother. Knox sneers, disgusted that his sister is playing house with a commoner at the academy. Chloe immediately knows he's targeting Gioma. She snaps back, warning him to keep her friend's name out of his mouth. Knox hadn't even bothered to learn it, but his tone turns lethal. He demands she cut ties immediately, or the Adiyogi family will simply erase the boy. Unfazed, Chloe turns her back on him. She leaves Knox with a chilling truth: even if the whole Adiyogi clan comes, they're no match for Gioma. Left alone, Knox begins to wonder about this mysterious boy. Who is this man capable of changing his sister so drastically? Meanwhile, Gioma limps home, his mind racing over the nature of his blessing. This power he was gifted isn't some divine favor from the heavens. It's a literal curse. He had desperately sought other weapons, trying to escape the sword god's suffocating influence. Yet that power hunted him down, hijacking his very soul, as if laughing at his pathetic attempts to stay human. In the heat of the fight with Chloe, pain vanished. In its place was a sickening, intoxicating euphoria, the sweet poison of the curse. The blessing turned him into a mindless puppet. It whispered dark, jagged commands into his ear: slash, cut, destroy everything. He had almost surrendered his body entirely, until Chloe's desperate screams shattered the trance and dragged him back. That scream was his lifeline. He clawed back his own name, snapping back to a reality he had nearly abandoned. He regained control just long enough to hurl the wooden sword away, terrified that holding it a second longer would erase him forever. The irony is biting. Chloe, the same yandere who nearly killed him, is now the only reason his soul is still intact. He was initially livid that she broke his weapon, but now he feels a profound, heavy sense of gratitude. He didn't make a scene upon waking up because he was paralyzed by one thought: the terror of that divine power awakening again. Today was a wake-up call. This isn't a problem he can just run away from or ignore anymore. This gift is a life sentence, a shadow that has completely obliterated his dream of a normal, quiet life. That dream is officially dead. As he literally crawls into his room, Gioma feels a foreign presence squirming inside his soul. Something hungry is trying to devour his sanity. It's not a blessing, it's a parasitic curse trying to swallow him whole. 3 days pass. Life at the academy continues its rhythm, and Chloe chats with friends, but a dark cloud hangs over her. Since that fateful duel, Gioma has vanished. They never traded contact info, leaving her completely in the dark. She's paralyzed by worry. Every time she visits his dorm, the only thing that greets her from the other side of the door is the sound of pained guttural groans. She considered kicking the door down, but the fear of his rejection held her back. She couldn't stand the thought of him hating her. Usually she finds peace just watching him from her seat in class. She's lost count of how many times she's stolen a glance at him. At first, she thought it was just a strange attraction. She told herself she was drawn to him because he saved her life, but even she knows that's just a convenient lie now. The truth, she just misses him. The next morning, Gioma's seat is still empty when the instructor marches in. The teacher barks at the class to settle down. With the rain pouring outside, the scheduled training is canceled. Study hall today, he announces. As students shuffle to their desks, the instructor's eyes drift to the empty seat in the back. He's noted Gioma's long absence, but knowing the boy's talent, he figures there must be a serious reason behind it. He decides to give the boy space, focusing instead on keeping the rest of the rowdy students in line. Suddenly, the door creaks open. Gioma walks in with an aura so different, Chloe nearly falls out of her chair in shock. He mumbles a cold apology for being late. His eyes are hollow, sunken, and look like they've seen the depths of hell. A single strand of his hair has turned a ghostly white. Even the veteran instructor is visibly shaken by the boy's transformation. Feeling an unnatural pressure, the teacher nervously tells him to take a seat. The class whispers, Gioma has changed. There's a new dangerous edge to his looks. By the time the final bell rings, the other students scatter to their own lives. Chloe finally gathers her courage. It's been 4 long days. She approaches him, her voice trembling as she asks what happened. She demands to know where he's been. He remains silent for a heartbeat before lying through his teeth, claiming he was just a bit sick. Don't worry about it, he says flatly. But he can hear the quiver in her voice. She knows he's hiding something horrific, but there are no words for the nightmare he's endured. For the last 72 hours, he's been through a literal transformation. Trapped in a cycle of agonizing withdrawal, he remained hollowed out, unable to leave his room or even eat. He lay buried under his sheets, desperately praying for the tremors to stop. The sheer torture he endured eclipsed any previous agony, the brutal tax for wielding a shattered relic. Glancing at his reflection, his face appeared skeletal and gaunt, while streaks of white began to bleed into his hair. This was the sword god's ruthless penalty. Sensing his aura, Chloe is visibly shaken by a wave of guilt, convinced his shattered state is her fault since their last encounter. To break her spiral, he calmly asks if that dinner invitation still stands. The sudden request catches Chloe completely off guard, shocking her more than his return to class. She nearly lunges for a hug, confirming he made the right call. The suggestion lit a spark in her eyes. When she asks for his preference, his mind immediately lands on fish. Their moment is cut short as a chilling gaze pierces through him. At the hall's end stands Chloe's brother. The air turns frigid the moment Knox arrives. Without hesitating, Gioma steps up to confront the intruder, demanding he stop skulking and speak his mind. Gioma instantly clocks something predatory in the man's eyes. But Chloe frantically interjects before the tension snaps. Her voice trembles with an obvious, deep-seated fear, yet she stands her ground to shield him. Knox sneers at her, asking if this is the man worth betraying the auditor's sacred laws for. Chloe fiercely retorts that she's done with their bloodline, but Knox reminds her that family blood never truly washes away. To be born an auditor is to be a lifelong slave to the shadow. Chloe sounds like a desperate rebel, while Knox talks like a cold-blooded patriarch, but Gioma is simply fed up with the melodrama. Knox hurls another insult, and that's the final straw. Chloe's protective instincts explode as she screams for him to never disrespect the man she loves. Even Knox is stunned by her raw fury. Gioma hoped for peace, but he's starting to realize that chaos is simply his new normal. His focus shifts to the auditors. They are a legendary shadow organization, elite assassins who eventually emerge to flip the script of the entire game. Though they lack the raw power of the great heroic houses, their lethality in the dark is unmatched. Every single member is a high-spec killing machine forged through a hellish childhood training regimen, designed to strip away their humanity. Knowing this, Chloe's bubbly warmth makes her a complete anomaly. Unlike her, Knox carries the unmistakable stench of a seasoned butcher. Gioma doesn't judge the lifestyle, but it's clear Chloe is starving for a normal life, just like his own curse. The Auditor bloodline is a prison Chloe never asked to be born into. She was destined to be. A heartless puppet of death, a tragic fate by any standard. Gioma doesn't claim to be a hero, nor does he want to be, but he'll be damned if he lets this girl's life be destroyed. He steps past Chloe, locking eyes with Knox. He tried to run from the sword god's blessing, and failed, so now he'll stop running and embrace the curse. After all, Gioma means sword demon. He brushes past the siblings and commands Knox to follow. Meanwhile, Lee Wonbin sits in his office, his mind racing with concern for his student. When Gioma showed up that morning, something was dead wrong. His eyes were hollowed out, carrying a weight no student should bear. As he ruminates, a fellow instructor breezes in, making a snarky comment about his receding hairline. Before he can snap back, a high-priority call comes in. The administrators are seeking permission for a student to enter the subspace. A worried Wonbin demands to know which of his cadets is making such a reckless move, only to find it's Kang Gioma, and he's challenged Nox Auditor. The stage is set for a lethal showdown. With 15 minutes on the clock, our MC waits in total silence. He expected a bureaucratic nightmare to access the subspace, but the process was suspiciously smooth. He knows Medea pulled strings to ensure he had a controlled environment to face a pro killer. Since it's a virtual arena, physical death isn't a factor, but the risk of total mental collapse is dangerously high. Still, none of that matters. The only thing that exists is the win. Outside, the crowd's roar begins to swell. It seems the clash between these two has sparked some unintended hype. Talk about a twist of irony. He spent so much energy trying to stay under the radar, but now, all that effort feels completely wasted. Beside him, Chloe is drowning in a sea of guilt. She's clearly blaming herself, but Gioma steps in to steady her. He gently reminds her that none of this is her fault. Plus, the gear she lent him will see him through. She warns him that Nox is a monster, a once-in-a-generation prodigy, born into the elite auditor bloodline. When it comes to the forbidden dark arts, the guy is peerless. By the age of 14, he was a legend. They started calling him the pinnacle of dark arts. A bit cringe, sure, but it proves he's a lethal threat. Gioma gazes at the rose-tinted blade in his grip, reflecting on the wild path that brought him here. His former master once prophesied he was fated to hold a sword forever. He just never imagined the reality, that even in this second life he'd still be dancing with a literal sashimi knife. Some habits never die. A cold voice rings out over the intercom, announcing that the subspace duel is finally set to commence. He stands giving Chloe one final nod of absolute confidence, before stepping out into the blinding lights of the arena. Instantly, a wall of deafening cheers hits him. The sheer intensity makes Gioma feel like an ancient Roman gladiator. The atmosphere is thick enough to choke on. Scanning the horizon, he spots some very familiar faces watching him. The entire star class has shown up, including the heavy hitters and main players from the original game world. Nox enters the ring, his eyes locking onto Gioma with pure disdain. The assassin looks genuinely offended. He can't believe Gioma has the nerve to challenge him with a girly kitchen tool. His bloodlust is overflowing. Most people would try to de-escalate, but Gioma isn't most people. Naturally, he decides to poke the bear. He quips that a master never blames his tools. Enraged Nox draws his weapon, the lethal S-rank blade. The two hungry blades. Not only is his gear top tier, but he's also rocking one of the game's broken buffs, the Blessing of the Crow. Against that, Gioma faces him with nothing but a pair of discount bin kitchen knives. This is a matchup for the history books. As the subspace barrier shimmers into existence, the tension snaps. The two blur into motion instantly. Gioma triggers his painless blessing, unsheathing his twin kitchen blades. This ignites the sword god's blessing. To the crowd, the arena becomes a chaotic storm of invisible steel. This was supposed to be a one-sided slaughter, a special admission nobody crushed by a professional killer. But the sheer speed of their exchange leaves the spectators dizzy. Even the elite star-class students are stunned. They didn't expect this fight to be so captivating. Abel in particular looks like she's seen a ghost. She can't wrap her head around how the guy she called weak possesses such terrifying combat prowess. Their blades scream as they collide, yet Gioma dodges every strike effortlessly. Frustrated, Nox unleashes a high-speed blitz. He moves so fast he leaves 3 after images behind. The attacks seem to land directly on Gioma's body, yet he emerges from the dust without a single scratch. The crowd gasps at Nox's overwhelming speed. To the untrained eye, Gioma is just desperately running. But Abel sees the truth that everyone else is missing. Only a true expert could understand the high-level play happening here. Gioma is dodging with perfect surgical precision. It's like he's barely even trying. Meanwhile, Nox is losing his mind. His pride is starting to crumble. He used the crow's blessing to end this quickly, yet Gioma treats his ultimate moves like child's play. Seeing Gioma's true skill, Nox finally stops playing around. He settles into a cautious, deadly stance. He prepares a massive AoE strike to end it all. Suddenly, Gioma discards his trusty sashimi knife. He grips the rose-colored blade Chloe gave him. The sheer aura of confidence radiating from his posture is suffocating. This only fuels Nox's rage. He refuses to let a nobody look down on him like a superior. Both fighters charge their ultimate attacks. Nox lunges forward, aiming to end our protagonist with one final blow. But before he can even blink, Gioma vanishes into an offensive blur. In a heartbeat, the duel is over. All Gioma ever wanted was a peaceful, quiet life. He played by the rules and stayed in the shadows. But now he surrenders his soul to the sword god, his only goal, to slice Nox with such perfection that the boy won't even realize he's been cut. The stadium falls into a deathly silence as Nox's arm, still clutching his blade, spins through the air and hits the floor. This is the birth of Kang Gioma. In that heartbeat, his quiet life vanishes. Gioma spins, delivering the final decisive strike. He carves Nox into pieces, ending the clash as the subspace field finally flickers out. A haunting silence grips the arena. On the cold floor, a broken Nox gasps for air. Resheathing his blade, Gioma is named the victor. He isn't surprised by the crowd's utter shock. They're speechless. He just unleashed god-tier destruction, using nothing but a basic fish-gutting knife. Despite his overwhelming might, he still loathes the grisly sensation of drawing blood. It feels wrong. His only comfort, the Mao brothers and Nox, were in a subspace, meaning no one actually died. Watching Nox struggle, Gioma feels a spark of respect. The man is every bit the beast Chloe described. His combat instincts are sharp, but his raw bloodlust made his every move predictable to Gioma. The announcer bellows Kang Gioma's name again, finally shattering the trance, holding the spectators captive. Chaos erupts. Nobody can believe a fresh-faced freshman just absolutely crushed a veteran sophomore. Gioma's dream of a low-key life is dead. He stepped onto this stage knowing the cost. From here on, it's nothing but pure hustle and grit. Even the next day, the hype hasn't died. The entire school is buzzing about the star-class showdown. Meanwhile, Abel stares blankly out the window. She's completely spiraling her mind, hijacked by thoughts of the boy who dominated yesterday's duel. His name echoes in every hallway. It's like the rest of the world has simply stopped existing. The memory haunts her the way he wielded those kitchen knives with such terrifying lethal grace. Witnessing that level of mastery made her own sword skills feel like nothing more than child's play. The realization hits hard. He's definitely the legendary secret student her grandfather has been hiding. She cringes, remembering how she'd looked down on him, totally unaware he was leagues above her. Her visible frustration rouses Rachel from her nap. Abel quickly tries to play it cool. But Rachel isn't fooled. She can tell something is eating at her blue-haired friend. Abel blames it on a missed workout, but Rachel sees right through that weak sauce excuse. She starts digging for the truth, and immediately lands on the most spicy possibility. Is it boy drama? Rachel howls with laughter at the thought of the icy Abel catching feelings. Abel panics, desperately trying to convince her friend that she's got it all wrong. Rachel ignores the denial, already scanning her mental list for which guy could possibly fluster Abel. First up, Leon, the class heartthrob. But Abel's stone-cold reaction says he's definitely not the one. That leaves only one candidate, the mysterious transfer, who just broke the school's power scale. Abel freezes instantly. Her silence speaks